This is Hope Matters, a production of Mount Olive Lutheran Church in Santa Monica, California. I'm Pastor Eric Shafer, your host here at Mount Olive. I'm the senior pastor here at Mount Olive, and we produce these programs each week where we talk to interesting people from around the country and even around the world about the theme of hope, because we believe that hope matters. My guest today is my friend Julie Rusk. Julie and I serve on the Santa Monica Bay Human Relations Council together, and Julie has a long career of working for good in this world, and her latest project is that she is the founder of the Civic Wellbeing Partners Project. And so Julie, our viewers, I think, would be very interested to know what that is all about.
Oh, well, I'm delighted to be here, and thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to hear my story. Well, I'll tell you briefly about Civic Wellbeing Partners. We're a new startup that's really trying to take the work that I had the amazing opportunity to work with many other people on and lead in Santa Monica around well-being. And in fact, so I want to talk a little bit about what well-being is and why it matters for local government, why it matters for us as individuals, our organizations, and our world. And what we're doing with Civic Wellbeing Partners is both keeping a number of projects going here in Santa Monica that really advance the well-being of regular people like you and me who are doing great things to improve the world and their communities and their lives. So we're doing some local projects that I'd love to share. And then we're also working with many people around the country and in fact the world that are really looking to advance this work and be part of a movement, much as sustainability was, to really focus us all on the importance of the environment. We've learned that our well-being, our individual and our collective well-being is something that can be measured, and it really matters, of course, and it can be improved. And we all know we have a lot of work to do to improve it. So our work in Civic Wellbeing Partners is really identifying some of the best practices, the beacons of light and hope around well-being, and helping to connect and lift those up.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Why I am familiar, as you know, with your project, and especially with the microgrants. And you got the last HRC meeting, Human Relations Council meeting, pretty excited because they were just, for small grants, they're very exciting, aren't they?
Yeah, what we've really found is, let me just back up and say, one of the things about this concept of well-being is we still have some really important work to do around its definition and meaning, and it lands differently with different people. It can be conflated with happiness and wellness, both of which are very important. But well-being is really about the sort of causes and conditions that are multifaceted that really make for a good life. And one of the things that we identified when we were working on really getting an index to measure well-being up and going within City Hall here in Santa Monica, we were really focused on the fact that this isn't just a concept that government puts, that there's a vending machine and government sort of spits out well-being, but that it is about partnership. It is about co-creation, and it is about learning from each other. So these microgrants are one very exciting and small scale, but I think big in impact example of when you invite people to share the things they'd like to do to make the world a better place, to share a skill, to bring people together with a little bit of money, a lot of support and camaraderie. You can lift up and really support some amazing ideas. So as you were mentioning, and we certainly love to share with anyone who's interested, we've got 12 fantastic projects that are going on right now that are really some of the best examples of people's creativity and desire to make an impact in this world in their project, and something that can be scaled and shared with others.
Give us an example of one of the projects. I won't ask you to name your favorite because I'm sure they're all your favorites, but give us an example of one of the projects so people who are viewing can get kind of a handle on what this is all about.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you two that are really different. One, and you heard a presentation from the pair of leaders, and I will say each of the projects that were selected completed an application, pretty simple. It's in English and Spanish. We kind of got it out there far and wide in the community. And then we have a very quick turnaround process of reviewing, and we use some criteria that really looks at the viability of the project, the impact that it's looking to have, and a couple of other very simple criteria. So the 12 that were selected included one that was from a pair of high school students, and they pitched this idea of taking what they've learned about 3D printing, which is something that many of us may have heard of but don't know a whole lot about. But these are two young women who are experts in 3D printing. And they said, you know what? We know how to do it. We know it's a really important skill for other young people. It's a real opportunity. There's pathways, there's jobs, there's skills. It's exciting. But we want to offer a class in 3D printing. So they've designed and developed a class in 3D printing. They have people from the ages of 7 to 72, I think they told us. They're doing it online, and they're really showing people that this is a skill that can be developed and shared. And one of the reasons this is important to well-being is the research and science shows that if we're continual lifelong learners, that builds our resilience. That's an important thing for us to be able to do. So this is a great example of a project where young people are using something they're good at, they understand, they're sharing it, and they're helping a whole diverse range of people learn a skill that they wouldn't otherwise have access to.
And they're 17 years old.
Exactly.
I mean, that was the amazing thing. Here they were 17 years old, and they're still kind of aw shucks about it too, you know.
They were really aw shucks about it, but impressive.
But that's not to say they weren't also dynamic, because they are mature beyond their years. And so you gave them $500 to do this, right?
$500. They're offering a free class. We helped them make a few connections. They connected in with some of our staff at the Santa Monica Public Library, some of the people that work in our youth programs. The schools sent out their flyers so people would be aware of it. It's offered online. They're doing it. They came up with an amazing mix of teaching online, and then the final projects that each person will make will be actually made because they have a 3D printer, these two young women. Each project will be sent to them. They'll print it, send the materials back to each person, or deliver the materials, and everyone will have a final project. So
wow.
Can't wait to see what they do. They've already gotten lots of interest and offers to do this work in other organizations, and it's really exciting to see what they came up with, what their creativity came up with.
That's a creative one. And you said you had another one you wanted.
I have another one that's really, really different, right? It's called the TAC Collective, which stands for Transgender and Queer Collective. And it's two folks who came up with this idea that they really wanted to both honor, and in honoring, mourn and grieve the loss of people in the trans and queer community. And what they came up with was a vigil that they held last Thursday night here in Santa Monica in front of the courthouse. And they did just an amazing job of holding space, creating space. They had, I think, about 60 people came out, which was just really amazing.
Really amazing.
An interesting cross section of people, and they sort of designed space in front of the courthouse using two trees. One tree was for the more kind of quiet grieving, and the other was, they called it the mourning tree, which was about sharing and talking. And people went to both trees if they wanted to. They had pictures up of people, many of them who were siblings of people in their collective, or family members who had untimely deaths, tragic deaths. And there was some short story sharing. One of the projects that was very hands-on as well. So there was a jacket that they had that they were sending to a mother of a trans person who was killed recently, and she's just feeling very alone in another part of the country, connected to people here, and they really wanted to reach out and let her know that really her loss was part of our loss. And they this team of people has done a couple things which we can also share. They have a way for people who want to join the collective, who are trans or queer, to join the collective. They have an allies sort of channel where you can join to be an ally. And then they have a resource channel where you can actually give resources that they're helping to match make, so that things that people need can be made more easy. So for instance, people getting name changes, that's something that's a really important issue in the trans community for some people. And so, but there's a cost associated. So you could sponsor somebody who's getting their name changed, things like this. So you can see the breadth of these projects that are really about something that matters to the person who's pitching the idea, and something that will really strengthen community.
And what is the website for the Civic Wellbeing Project?
It's at santamonicawellbeing.org, and we can be sure that it's in your show notes.
That'd be great, but that's a pretty easy one too. Santa Monica, I'm writing it down, wellbeing.org. Okay.
Yeah, all
great.
one word. And so I think what's important about this is these are projects that really demonstrate this is the we of well-being, right? This is we all have a way to participate. Some of the other aspects of the work are really about policy change and systems change, and really making sure we're using data about people to really understand how we're doing. And so, you know, we've been a part of in Santa Monica creating this, what was really a groundbreaking measurement tool to really measure well-being. And we're now working with people in other parts of the country to try and support some of the emerging efforts that are really happening all over.
Wonderful. And your website talks about that too, I'm sure.
Yes, it does. And that's sort of a newer part of our work. And I think for me, what's exciting about this is coming from a place like Santa Monica, where we've been at the forward lean of a lot of important public policy. And so this is an opportunity for me personally, but to really be a sort of a conduit from so much of what we've developed and done here in Santa Monica, and share it, and then learn from what's happening in other places.
Wonderful. If people are interested in applying for the next round of microgrants, they'll find information on the website about that also.
We have a contact us little part on the website. We'd love to hear from people and get you on our mailing list.
Wonderful, great. Well, that gets us down to the theme of hope. I mean, you have the privilege of seeing these many, even tiny, but not tiny, hopeful projects. So Julie, what brings you hope in your life these days?
Such a good question. I think I want to start by saying, you know, I want to tie this to well-being, and then I'll answer your question about myself. I mean, the research and science really shows that hope does matter. So in addition to it being something that intuitively I think we understand and I resonate with, hope, belonging, purpose, these are things that really can be measured. And really, when we find ways to pay attention and support and lift them in ourselves and each other's, we're stronger. Because, you know, we know that well-being is not something that, you know, we're not always well. We all get hit with thing after thing that really knocks us down. And I think the thing about hope is just being able to take a deep breath, to feel the sunshine, to know that we're not alone. And I think for me, some of the connectedness with other people is really, really essential. Because I mean, these last couple of years in particular, with COVID and all the other issues that have sort of come together in front of us all and that we've all shared, have really knocked us down, or knocked me down, I'll say. And so I think what gives me hope is knowing that I'm not alone, connecting with other people, learning, continuing to learn and grow and realize, you know, this world is ours to figure out and change together. And the more we can really find ways to do that, the more I live a good life, and that enables me to feel like I'm contributing and leaving something in this world that makes it a little bit better. And I think that's part of what hope is for me.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Julie, and thank you for being with us today on Hope Matters. This has been Hope Matters, a production of Mount Olive Lutheran Church here in Santa Monica, California. I'm Pastor Eric Shafer, the senior pastor at Mount Olive and your host for Hope Matters. Our guest today has been Julie Rusk, who is the founder of the Civic Wellbeing Partners Project, and she's been speaking about that. You can find more about her project at the website santamonicawellbeing.org. And you find out about her work and about the projects and about the grants, small grants they give out for projects to support in this whole area. So thank you, Julie, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Join us again next week when we'll have a new guest. Each Wednesday we have a new guest on Hope Matters, where we speak about hope, because we believe that hope matters and we believe in a God of hope.